everyone, this is a read aloud for assignment 1 about robber barons and captains of industry for U.S. history. So if you go to the assignment, make sure you're in the right class, which should be U.S. History 2, Regents Prep. And if you go to the classwork tab here, you should see assignment 1, robber barons versus captains of industry. And I'm going to do a read aloud for this assignment. We'll go over the instructions and then I'll read over the article for you. Okay. So your assignment 1 is to read the article below on page 2 about John D. Rockefeller, who owned the Standard Oil Company in the late 1800s. While reading the biography, find evidence that shows whether Rockefeller was a captain of industry, in other words, a business owner who became successful through fair, ethical business practices, or a robber baron, a business owner who gained their wealth through unfair, unethical ways. Okay, I've given you some examples of what a robber baron and a captain of industry are down here. So a robber baron, someone who gains their wealth through unfair, unethical ways, would be someone who does things like give their workers low pay so that they can make more money, use their business power to buy out other competitor businesses, okay? Or in other words, if they create a business that is a monopoly, when one company owns every part of the production process, or if they keep all of their money for themselves or their family. Right? These are all unfair, unethical things. And that would be an example of a robber baron. An example of a captain of industry would be if a business owner gives their workers fair or high pay so that their workers can have a living wage. If a business owner uses their power and money to innovate or create new technology and ideas so that they can better compete against other companies, and if they give their money away to charity. Those would all be examples of a business owner who is a captain of industry. So what you're going to do is you're going to read that biography of John D. Rockefeller, and you're going to look for evidence that he is a captain of industry or a robber baron. Okay? I want you to get at least 5 pieces of evidence from the article and add those to the chart on page 3 to show whether he is a robber baron or a captain of industry. So let's scroll down and I will read through the article with you. Okay, again, we're looking for evidence that he is a robber baron, an unfair boss, or a captain of industry, a fair, good boss. John D. Rockefeller biography. American industrialist John D. Rockefeller was born July 8, 1839, in Richford, New York. He built his first oil refinery, see photo below, near Cleveland, and in 1870 created the Standard Oil Company. By 1862, he had a near monopoly of the oil business in the U.S., but his business practices led to the passing of antitrust or anti-monopoly laws. Late in life, Rockefeller devoted himself to charity. He died in 1937. So if there's any evidence here that you see makes him a robber baron or a captain of industry, you can add it to the chart on the next page. I'll keep going. Standard Oil. After working in the oil business and buying his first oil refinery near Pittsburgh, Rockefeller soon became successful by defeating his competitors. In 1870, Rockefeller and his associates or co-workers created the Standard Oil Company, which immediately prospered thanks to favorable or helpful economic/industry conditions and Rockefeller's drive to streamline the company's operations and keep profits high. With success came new purchases, as Standard began buying out, or buying the companies from previous owners, its competitors. So just as my model for what to put in your chart here, this sentence here, that Standard Oil began buying out its competitors, that, because it is an unfair business practice, I put that as an example of a way that he is a robber baron, someone who makes their money in unfair and unethical ways. Okay, so I added Rockefeller bought out other oil companies to eliminate competition and make his business stronger. I typed that under the robber baron chart. But let me keep going with the reading. Okay, so starting from here. Standard Oil created the majority of refineries, or oil processing factories, see photo below, in the Cleveland area within 2 years. At the same time, Standard got into the business itself with the purchase of oil pipelines, or underground pipes that carry oil, and terminals, setting up a system of transportation for its own products. Owning almost every aspect of the oil business, Standard's grip on the industry tightened, and it even bought thousands of acres of forest for lumber and drilling to block competitors from running their own oil pipelines, underground pipes that carry oil. In just over a decade since Standard Oil started, Rockefeller had created the first monopoly of the oil business in the U.S. How he treated employees. By 1900, when the average worker earned $8 to $10 per week, Rockefeller was a billionaire. Some say that for the time, Rockefeller paid his workers average wage and offered them bonuses occasionally. Critics argue that his labor practices were unfair. Employees pointed out that he could have paid his workers a fairer wage and settled for being a half-billionaire. Antitrust or anti-monopoly issues. With such an aggressive push into the industry, the public and the U.S. Congress took notice of Standard and its seemingly unstoppable march. Monopolistic behavior was seen as overly powerful, and Standard soon became the symbol of a company grown too big and too dominant or powerful for the public good. In 1890, Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, the first law to ban monopolies and trusts. And 2 years later, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled Standard Oil a monopoly that stood in violation of Ohio law. In response, Rockefeller broke apart his company into multiple different companies. Later years in charity. Rockefeller kept himself busy with charity, becoming one of the more respected donors in history. His money helped pay for the creation of the University of Chicago, 1892, to which he gave more than $80 million before his death. He also helped found the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, later named Rockefeller University, in New York, and the Rockefeller Foundation. In total, he gave away more than $530 million to various causes. So after reading that article, you can add 5 pieces of evidence total to your chart for ways that he was a robber baron and ways that he was a captain of industry. And when you are done doing that, you're going to go to the final part, okay, where you, once you have finished reading or watching the biography and completing the chart, make an argument determining whether your business leader, John D. Rockefeller, is a robber baron or a captain of industry. Back your evidence up with at least 2 pieces of evidence. So you are responding to the question, was John D. Rockefeller a robber baron or a captain of industry, and why? You can put your claim in this box using the sentence starter if you would like. Your evidence from the from the biography goes in here. Make sure your evidence supports your claim. And then for extra credit, you can try the reasoning. Explain how your evidence proves that your claim about your industry leader, John D. Rockefeller, is correct. Make sure if you have any questions, you email me or send me a private note, and I'm happy to help.